All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Personal Collection. I'm here with Marty at signed 1933 Goudey. I know you have Instagram. Do you have any other socials as well?
No, and I just came out of the social uh, closet, I guess. I mean, I just did my Instagram about a year ago, and part of the reason that I did that was I've been building this set that we'll talk about for a little over 10 years, and during the pandemic, honestly, none of my friends are real big baseball fans, and I kind of talk about this with them, and my wife kind of gets it. But I invited a friend over that really liked baseball, and I went to the bank and I picked up all the stuff and I spread everything out over the kitchen table. And he spent several hours just like looking through everything and was like, "Man, you need to show this to folks. You need to share this. This is insane." So ended up kind of posting a few things on Net 54, and a guy reached out who I'm an Arkansan. He reached out to me and asked me to do a presentation for the local Sabre chapter here in the state. And so I did that, and that led to other opportunities. And so I ended up starting the Instagram account about a little over a year ago to kind of force myself to write. People are asking me to tell the stories, or I was getting asked the same stories over and over again. So I've decided I'm just going to write a book. So over the last year and a half or so, I've been putting together this book, and hopefully it'll come out this fall. So that's why I started the Instagram account. So.
Well, I'll definitely be buying a book because I know how long it takes to write, man. That's a tedious process.
It is, and I appreciate the work that you did for the fakes. I mean, that's an important book. I mean, it's the hobby is insane, and people, bad people will get in there and try to make money on anything. And so it was just a matter of time when the PSA flip started getting faked. So kudos to you for doing the work, and I love the cover of your book.
Of course. I mean, it features one of the cards in the set, the Luque.
Absolutely.
We got the book back over there. Actually, I might have a copy. I don't know what the cover looks like. There we go.
Lou has
Widely faked.
Yeah, he's got two cards in the set. They're the same. They look the same, and that's one of the many kind of fascinating stories of this set. I mean, it's pretty cool, man. I think it's by far, and I know. I mean, I collect the monster too. I've got a bunch of those, and I know and I collect 52 tops too, and so I know there's tops folks that say the tops is the best and the T206 that's the best, but really, I think the value and the history and everything, I think the Goudey's got them beat. So
the big three sets right there.
Yeah, for
sure. If you guys don't know what the big three are, it's the 52 and then the Goudey and the T206, what a lot of collectors go after.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
Let's take a look at some of them.
Yeah, big fan. So what I did, I thought this would be funny. Some of your recent guests that you've had on over the last year or so, Jeff Smith, who's the Lefty O'Doul fan. So I said, let's show my Lefty O'Douls off. Lefty O'Doul has two cards in the set. And I will say this, I mean, he is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Lefty O'Doul will be in the Hall of Fame. Last year, he made it to the final ballot of the early days committee. I think he ended up getting 5 of the 12 votes needed. Lefty O'Doul is absolutely a Hall of Famer, phenomenal career, started as a pitcher. He played, I think the rules is like over 10 years in Major League. He got over 10 years in Major League, but he ended up coming back. He pitched for a couple seasons and then went to the Pacific Coast League. He won the National League Batting Championship in 1929 and 1932. The guy's got a lifetime 349 batting average. I mean, the guy's insane. He was an all-star in 33, but really his biggest contributions was not just what he did on the field, but afterwards and really building the relationship as an ambassador for Japan. So Lefty O'Doul is really, really underrated, I think. You should definitely, if you're watching this for the first time, don't know Lefty O'Doul, just Google him, Wikipedia him. I mean, he was really, really important to the game overall. So I did that. I've got the two Lefty O'Douls. I'm constantly upgrading, and this one is trimmed, so it's difficult to find these autographed, and so I make do. This is actually an upgrade for me. The one that I just recently had was signed in pencil, and it wasn't good, but this one's a pretty bold autograph, but it is trimmed. I will upgrade this at some point if I can ever find one. That's good.
So my question with upgrading is, do you care first then for the autograph and then the card? So let's say, for example, there's a Lefty O'Doul that's like in a PSA 2 range, but has a pencil autograph. Would you take that over the one that you have currently, or are you looking for the auto first?
I think it's aesthetically. It's the placement of where the autograph is on the card. It's, you just know. I know the
Look
card.
at the eye appeal. I wasn't sure because I know some people just go after like set registries. They look for specific criteria on cards rather than, sometimes like an 8 looks better or looks worse than a 7. They'd rather have the 8 just to get the points or something like that. So I wasn't sure on that perspective.
Well, it's funny you said that because I am on the PSA set registry. I'm not endorsing PSA, but I've decided I'm going to go ahead and cross everything over to PSA. I've used the set registry. I'm number one, obviously, on the set registry. I think I have 67% of the set autographed and slabbed by PSA. I have 216 of the 239 cards in the set autographed. Right now, I believe I have the most complete set in the country. So, I'm going to cross everything over to PSA, but you're exactly right. I'm always buying upgrades. I bought 9 upgrades last week. I've got 5 more being shipped to me right now, and I'll log them into the registry. And it's funny because I've got an email that I'm going to send to PSA where I have like the highest graded, but I'm holding a card that looks so much better. So I'm actually taking pictures of these and going to send them to PSA. I've got like 6 different sets of 2 cards that I'm going to send to them and be like, how is this card better than this card? Just explain that to me. And again, so much of it is subjective. I don't know how they do that, but after holding the cards in my hand, I know which one that I want. And I did that recently. I'm selling some of my extras because I don't need 2 and they're expensive, and I've got 2 kids. So you roll through the set registry, and I'm like, why am I giving up this higher graded card for this card that looks better? It doesn't make sense. So if I get a reply from PSA, I'll let you know. So then you had a guy, the Elite Hunters.
James, yeah.
Yeah, the Triple Crown winners, the Triple Crown winners are, that's a fascinating rabbit hole to run down. That's really cool. So one of my favorites is Chuck Klein. So there's my signed Chuck Klein card. This is the only one that I'm really not going to show that it hasn't been sent to PSA. I know that autograph is legit because I know where it came from. It was a gentleman in Indiana who was going into a retirement home that got this card signed. I am the second owner of this card. So I'll get it sent over to PSA. I've never done a PSA submission. I've been a lifetime collector and I've never done that, but I'm going to get all these crossed over this year. Chuck Klein, lifetime 320 hinter. He won the Triple Crown in 33. So this is his Triple Crown year, but he died in 1958. Unfortunately, he was an alcoholic, and I think he opened a bar with his brother, and he died in 1958. So not a ton of these floating around. It's a pretty tough auto. I was looking for it for years before I just got this random phone call. And then the other big, the greatest of all time. I know Ty Cobb is, I know Ty Cobb's probably the best hitter, but Hornsby,
really, really great.
23 seasons. This is a 9 auto, 23 seasons, lifetime 358 batting average. 23 seasons. It's insane.
And I think he batted 400 with 40 home runs 1 year too.
Yeah. He is one of the greatest of all time. So stoked to have that. He has 2 cards in the set. The other one is actually
the horizontal one.
Yeah, it's a fielding card. I like that card better. I have it signed too, but it's not slabbed, and I'm looking to upgrade. So I didn't grab that one out of the safe because it's not slabbed. I want everybody to see the good stuff. And then you had the gentleman that collected the catchers.
Yep, cards of
So
the story.
that's with the story. I mean, yeah, all these cards have stories. That's why we're writing the book. But Cards with a Story, kudos to him. Great collection. He's right on the money. Catcher cards are just cool. So eat your heart out. Benny Bengal. I know you showed this card. Cards with a Story. Here's my Benny Bengal autograph. This is the nicest known Benny Bengal autograph card. It's the #1 card in the set. I'm sure many of you that watch this know the Uncle Jimmy story. Uncle Jimmy passed away 2 years ago. He was a 97-year-old World War II veteran, I believe. He lived in New Jersey, never got married, never had any kids, worked at a factory for, I think, 40 years, retired from there. And I believe he was a janitor at a local school, never had a car. So when he died, he had told his family he had a huge baseball card collection upstairs. And so that's the story that rocked the news. Again, I've got friends, I've been doing this for 15 years, almost well over 10 years. So I've got collectors all over the country that go to card shows and send me photos and ask me if I have things. And so the day that story broke, my phone just blew up, and ended up reaching out to the auction house. And after some time, I got the list. Uncle Jimmy had just an amazing collection. So he had 175 different cards in the set autographed. And so I think that's cool because Uncle Jimmy did not break the 200 mark. But he did have the nicest known examples. He had 6 Babe Ruths. He had 50, so he had 175 different cards in the set signed, but he also had 50 additional extra cards. So there's a lot of Uncle Jimmy cards out there. Yeah. And I'm secretly trying to put his collection back together. I have 50 of the Uncle Jimmy cards now. And so if anybody out there purchased an Uncle Jimmy card and is willing to give it up, let me know. But
You know what though? Not to
Yeah.
interrupt the thought. I think I've seen a few of those at card shows. Some of the Uncle Jimmy autograph Goudeys. I need to get their contact info again.
Yeah, get their contact info and let me know for sure. I've got, I think, like 47 right now, but I've got a friend of mine in California that has a few more that's going to sell them to me. But again, it's just money. But I love Uncle Jimmy. I love his story. I'm going to talk about him in the book. Benny Bengal, amazing catcher. He's a defensive catcher. I think he won 3 World Series title. He was part of the Murderers Row Yankees. He wasn't very good offensively, and so the manager ended up cannoning him for Bill Dickey, who is also an Arkansan and went on to become a Hall of Famer. But so he was the catcher before Bill Dickey. Another card that he showed was the Gus Mancuso card. This is an Uncle Jimmy, nicest known example of this card autographed. Gus was a 2-time All-Star as well. He was a really good catcher as well. So that's just beautiful. I mean, like,
Ink is great on it.
Yeah, ink is good on it. You can't talk about catchers without talking about Mickey Cochran. This is one of my favorite cards. Mickey Cochran. Everybody should know this. This is who Mickey Mantle was named after. Mickey Mantle's dad was a huge fan. He died in 1962, so there's not a ton of these floating around. This is the nicest known example. Lifetime 320 hitter. I mean, just, phenomenal.
Colors really pop too.
Colors amazing. A guy I think more people in the set should know about, and it's a catcher card, Paul Richards. Paul Richards had a phenomenal career. He's actually in the Orioles Hall of Fame. He was a player, I believe, from 32 to 46, but then he went on to be a manager and a scout, and then he became a general manager. So he was actually
Everything, man.
He was in everything. Smart, really, really, really smart guy. But he was the GM for the Orioles and the Braves, I believe. But he won a couple World Series too. But that's just a cool card. I mean, you gotta love that card.
The backgrounds on some of them, when it's not the single color, just like the paintings on it. Like the Grove is my favorite in that set. The Grove and also the Dean, they both look so nice.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate to have good examples of both of those. Um, Schulte, Johnny Schulte, he was another pretty good catcher. He played, I think, from 23 to 32 as a player, but he ended up becoming a coach, and he was a coach for the Yankees for about 15 years. So he really coached. He was very influential in Bill Dickey's career. So I think he retired from playing in 33. And so, I think the next year the Yankees picked him up. So I think he was with the Yankees from 34 to 48, I believe. So anyway, just really well-respected coach and really developed a lot of really good catchers. And oh yeah, he won 7 World Series rings, 7.
Can't complain about that.
Can't complain about that at all. This is one I just upgraded. So if you're out there, catcher fans, let me know. I've got another one of these that I did not think I would ever be able to upgrade, and then this one ran across my email, and I had to pick it up. Muddy Rule. Really interesting guy. He played a long time. I think he played from like 1915 to 1934. He was another one that was a manager and a coach. He became the GM of the Tigers as well after that. After he hung up his glove, but he won 2 World Series championships. Again, just really cool card, and that signature is just awesome. I love those fountain signatures. One more catcher and I'll stop. I could go on, but I don't want the catchers to dominate. My favorite, one of my favorite, and I think one of the top 6 catchers of all time, Gabby Hartnett, doesn't get enough credit. Cub, great, legendary, 6-time All-Star. I think he was a lifetime 297 hitter too. So, just he won the NL MVP. I mean, he was just awesome. I mean, just really classy guy. So I'm really excited to have this one. So
I'd say a lot of the catcher autos look great as well. I know today you get scribbles, but everyone took their time on these.
Yeah, and that's why I got into this too. Is I was an autograph collector from just being a kid, and then loving the game and collecting baseball cards, and I did a lot of through the mail and. Living in Arkansas, we had we do have a pretty good minor league team, and then just Arkansas in general. Spring trainings were here in Arkansas for many years in the 19 teens, 20s, and 30s. I'm a lifelong Red Sox fan, and the Red Sox built their first spring training facility here in Hot Springs. So I've told the story a couple times, but since we're talking about Gabby Hartnett and Hot Springs, the Al Capone story I think is hilarious. So everybody came to Hot Springs for spring training, and Hot Springs is a really unique town. It has hot springs, and so for medicinal purposes, people soaked in the hot springs, and so all the players would come down. The winters in Chicago obviously are tough. So a lot of the mobsters came down. So there was gambling, there was other illegal activity going on down there, a lot of moonshining. And I found a newspaper article that said the players are arriving for spring training, and there's a picture with Gabby Hartnett signing an autograph for Al Capone.
That's hilarious.
And what's hilarious about it is the commissioner of baseball was furious and sent a telegram to Gabby Hartnett that said, I'm paraphrasing, do not sign autograph, or you signing autographs for Al Capone is bad for baseball. Don't do that anymore. Gabby Hartnett got mad and ran back and telegraphed the commissioner back. Look, if you don't want me to sign autographs for Al Capone, you tell him. I'm not. I mean, he played for the Cubs, so I mean, he's not going to
have to at that. I mean, if anyone gets an autograph, I mean, Al Capone asks you for an autograph, yes, sir. and you signed it.
Yes, sir. And so, but anyway, I've got that, and I'll include that in the book too, which I thought was hilarious. And then,
That's really cool.
and then I'll do, since we did some Triple Clown, we did some catchers. What else did we do? We did the Lefty O'Doul, two that I like that popped up. This is the only known example of Charlie Jameson. I've got several cards that are the only known signed example. Charlie is somebody I think that needs to get a little bit more credit. He played, I think his career started in 1915, but he played for the Indians, Guardians, whatever they are now, from 1919 to 1932. He is in the Indians Hall of Fame, but he had a lifetime 303 batting average. And again, that's just a really cool card. This is trimmed. Obviously, there's about 3 or 4 collectors, and I tell their stories in the book, so I know where these cards originally came from. And so it's Uncle Jimmy. There's a Detroit Tiger ball boy collection that surfaced a few years back. There's the Red Line collection, is a kid in New York named Leahy, who got the card signed outside of a Yankee Stadium at the subway stop closest to Yankee Stadium. And he was like OCD, so he wrote this red line on the card where he wanted the players to sign. And then there was another guy that cut off the big league bubblegum ad. And so so you'll see a lot of the really rare ones that were just trimmed off the bottom. But this is the only known example, and I'm so stoked to have that one. Another one that I'll show that it's just a cool story. Val Pinich, I believe I'm saying his name. Before Uncle Jimmy died, there's a handful of us that were like really hardcore collectors in this set. And I'm going to say, for anybody that's collecting, do what you love, do what you like. I promise you, when I started this set, I did not have money. I was a young guy. I didn't have a ton of money, and so you play the long game. You do longevity. You pick up deals when you can. You flip when you can. Fortunately, I've had some success, and I can drop really stupid money on cards right now. But before Uncle Jimmy died, no one knew about this card, a signed card of this existing. Pinich died in 1942. His last year was 1933. He retired in 1933. He had a long career. He played from 1916 to 1933. He played for the Dodgers, Brooklyn Dodgers. So Uncle Jimmy took this card to Dodger Stadium and got it signed. But not only this one, he got 2 of them signed. He went home, put them in a binder, and they stayed there for the next 80 years. He retired in 33, moved to Maine, bought a chicken farm. I'm not joking. He had a chicken farm in Maine, and he died in 1942 of the flu. So, the story of the Uncle Jimmy collection was so dang cool, but everybody was stoked about the 6 Babe Ruths and the Lou Gehrig's. I was more stoked about this guy and Heine Sand. I had the only known Heine Sand card that existed, and he had one. And so this is the highest graded example of Val Pinich. I'm so stoked to have this card. And there's many others that I have are the only known example. And so, but those are 2 that I really, really like. The Jameson I just got. The collector that had the most complete signed set just sold his collection off in January in Memory Lane auction, and I was able to pick up probably 23 different cards from that set from him. And Scott, glad you got out of the game. Your cards are being taken care of. So we'll roll through.
I was going to ask you real quick. Are there any players that don't have an autograph card?
Sure.
Because you said there was a few different players that were very tough.
Yeah, there's 4. There's 4, and the cool thing about all of this is the stories. Sean Brennan, Hi, Sean Brennan is a little bit older than me. I'm in my mid 40s. I hate to say that now. I'm 44. Sean Brennan started doing this in the 80s, and he's from Illinois, and he's a little bit older than me. He built a pretty solid collection. I've got how much Sean Brennan had. I want to say he had like 220 cards signed. As far as I can tell, there have only been 5 people in the history of 33 Goudeys to ever have more than 200 signed. So I mean, this is an elite group, and I'm fortunate that I know most of them, but I have their exact numbers written down. I've done a couple of presentations now, but Sean had, let's say, 220. And Jason May is an attorney in Oklahoma, and Jason and I got to know each other a little bit on sportscollectors.net around 2007, 2008. He started collecting this right before I did. And he had a little more money at the time than I did. So he really like sought out some of the collections, and he was able to the Detroit Tiger ball boy collection. And that's a really cool story. Basically a guy who was a Detroit Tiger ball boy, I think from like 36 to like 39, something around there. He passed away, I think about 7 years ago now. And his kids had the collection, and Jason heard about it. I'll tell you off the record how he heard about it. But you know, Jason heard about it, jumped on a plane and bought it for $25,000. And what Jason was doing was really cool. Sean appreciated what he was doing. And so Sean sold his collection to Jason. So Jason ended up getting just an outrageous number. I think it was like 224 or something like that. And then Jason auctioned his collection off through REA in 2018. About that time that he auctioned his off, I was at about the 150 mark. So I said, I'm going to do what I can. And you know, I spent some money, and I ponied up and got some stuff. There was some stuff on that I have now that came back to me, but there's 4 of us now, 3 of us, I guess, since Scott's out, that are pretty hardcore collectors. Again, we talk weekly, and they've helped me out. We've helped each other out. So it's been a really cool journey. So in REA's auction, I had put together, because these were kind of like rarely turning up, and this is, you know how insane the market has gone since 2018.
It's been crazy. I honestly didn't expect the market to be like this. I know vintage wise, it's just like gradual year after year, but how everything is just skyrocketed the past few years made a lot of cards that I wanted to attain just way out of reach.
Yeah, they're way out of reach. I mean, like the Babe Ruths now. I mean, we could. Everybody asked, do you have the Babe Ruth? Do you have the Babe Ruth? No, I don't have the Babe Ruth. I had opportunities to buy the Babe Ruth for $15,000 to $20,000 that I'm kicking myself that I didn't buy the signed Babe Ruth for $15,000 for $20,000. Just to give you an example, that Uncle Jimmy, one of the Uncle Jimmy Babe Ruth cards, the red one, sold for $680,000.
I was gonna say I saw one. I don't remember if it was Uncle Jimmy one. I'll have to go through the footage. But there was an auction house that brought one to Strongsville this weekend, and they were asking $750,000 on it. So I'm not sure which one it was. I'm gonna rewind the footage and I'll find it. But 750K on that one.
Yeah, and it's just insane. And again, that number, I know who the collector was, the collecting group that bought that one. So it's not that one. And so what other people are doing are basing their numbers off that one. Not all of the roofs sold for that much. I think we're talking about 200,000 or 150,000 or 300,000. It's still ridiculous money. But when Jason sold his auction at auction in 2018, I had put together a PSA set, unsigned set, and I ended up selling that in that auction. And they pulled out the roofs. I got like $2,400 for my PSA 2 roofs, and I'm like, what? This is insane. Like, I would have hung on to those, I would have been okay.
Now they're 3 to 4x them, which is insane.
Yeah, it's 15
Yes.
grand, 16 grand. I mean, it's crazy.
Imagine getting all four Ruth autographs now. If people are charging 750K a pop, times that by 4. Ouch.
Yeah, it's insane. The market is insane, and again, I mean, who knows? I don't. I think it's cool. I mean, it's really really cool. I think, but a lot of people, my parents or older people, they collected gold or silver, or they were into that thing. As the kids of the 70s, 80s grow up, I mean, we're looking for commodities. We're looking for material objects that we can invest in, and the pandemic just proved that. I mean, the card market really, really took off. I don't even know where I was going with that. But anyway, I sold a PSA 2 set to buy as many of Jason's cards as I could. And that got me really close to 200. And then just over time, I was able to get, right at 200. And I think I crossed 200 about a year ago. It's crazy. Last year, I think I bought 4 cards all year, 5 cards all year. I've purchased 22, 30. I've probably bought 40 cards in the last 3 months. And just upgrading because they pop up, and the big collectors, Scott that just sold his through Memory Lane. A lot of the way they sold those, the higher end cards they did individually, but they did some group lots in the auction. So I needed like 1 or 2 of the cards in the lot, but I spent a lot of money on that auction. It was insanely embarrassing how much money I spent on that. So I didn't chase some of the lots, but I've been blessed by individuals that purchased a lot. They would help me out with the cards that I needed, either turn it up in the secondary market on eBay. I mean, that just eBay. I just purchased 5 cards from a guy that won one of the lots on eBay. So let's roll through some more cards. Let's go through the hall. Yeah, these are the good ones. Al Simmons. I'm going to apologize. I told you this before we started recording. I'm high stress job. We're all busy. Trust me, I know more about these cards than I do. Simmons, I'm going to be wrong on this. He died in like the late 40s, early 50s. Al Simmons, one of the greatest hitters of all time. This card is just phenomenal. So if you're watching this as a passive baseball fan, you may not be familiar with these names. That's okay. That's the beauty of this sport, and the hobby is you're always learning. Even those of us who, I think we know it all, we don't. And I know that I don't know.
I agree with that. You think you know everything, and then you find out about new sets. You're like, well, there goes my knowledge in this.
Yeah, no, I don't know near much as I want to know about this set. So Al Simmons, Hall of Famer, great. Talking about Cub, Hall of Famer, Kiki Kyler, again, one of the greatest of all time, Hall of Famer. I can't remember his lifetime batting average, but something really ridiculous. And I think he died in the 50s too. So another really tough autograph. Dazzy Vance. This card is really difficult to find and in pretty good shape. I've owned a couple of these. One of them was trimmed along the bottom, and then the another 1 or 2 that I've owned, the signatures just weren't good. I mean, so this signature card combination, it's kind of on my fringes. I would like to upgrade these, but I just can't. I mean, they just don't pop up. And again, I think he died. It was in the 60s maybe. So I mean, these are it's not like I can run down to the local card shop and say, hey, I want to sign 33 Goudey of Dazzy Vance. What do you got? I mean, they're not.
Card shows themselves. I know 1 or 2 dealers that have set up with those, and I mean, occasionally a dealer has like one in their showcase.
Yeah. One that I'm really excited to have won in the recent auction was this Eddie Collins. There's several players, well, 4, not several, there's 4 players that are featured in the T206 set and the 1933 Goudey set. Eddie Collins, Hall of Famer, obviously is one of those. But the reason this card is really special to me is it's autographed to a guy named Jimmy Keehee, I believe is how he said his name. But the kid was from Chicago. There are 3 signed 1933 Goudey cards signed to this kid. I own 2 of them. And so the third one I didn't chase. My friend won it, but it's the Benny Bengal card, and I already have the nicest Benny Bengal from the Uncle Jimmy collection. I didn't really want to spend another couple $1,000s on one just to get these trio together. But the cool thing about this is I'm planning a trip to New York, and my friend in New York owns the other card. So we're going to bring cards so we can reunite them, you know, and take pictures with them. But Eddie Collins, obviously another one of the greatest of all times. I mean, this card's just super cool, super cool.
So the other T206 ones is what? Nap Lajoie, and then also you have Speaker. And then who would be the fourth one? I'm trying to think at the top of my head.
It's a blue card. I have them both. I have them right here. I had a long day.
I can't remember the guy's name on top of my head. I'm trying to think.
Jack Quinn. Jack Quinn, this is his T206 card, and I have the nicest known example from the Uncle Jimmy collection of Jack Quinn. Trust me, I've got it. It's in this monster case here. But it's not one that I pulled out, but there's four. Tris Speaker is one that I don't have that I would love to have. I've had an opportunity, like there's 2 or 3 really beautiful Tris Speaker sign cards out there. I've had an opportunity if I wanted to spend $15,000, $20,000 to get them, but I just haven't been able to pull the trigger yet. I missed out on one a couple months back, but one day I'll get the Speaker. This is a Herb Pinnock Hall of Famer. This card's a little dingy, but he died in like the 50s. And the cool thing about this card is it was one of the nicest known examples until the Uncle Jimmy collection turned up. So you can go on to PSA's website, and this is the example of his signature. And I think that's kind of cool. You can go through like the exemplars of some of the signatures. So this is PSA's exemplar for our Herb Pinnock. Amazing catcher. Uncle Jimmy, I think, had 2 or 3 Herb Pinnocks that were cleaner cards. But again, when these popped up the way that they did, I've got a limited budget. And so I was really going after the rare ones and the ones that I didn't have, and really didn't focus on the upgrades. And so that was the strategy that I had to do. I mentioned the red lines earlier. This is Goose Gosling is one of those from the Leahy collection. You can see the red line there. But Goose, another Hall of Famer, heck of a player. And this is a pretty clean card. I think the auto's a 9. It's got a little bit of paper loss on the back, but that's what made it a 1. But the front looks good, so it's presentable. Eparixi, Hall of Famer, really another tough one. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 known to exist of this card. I can't off the top of my head remember when he died, but it was probably in the 50s. But this is the nicest known example from the Uncle Jimmy collection. Was able to pick that one up. So stoked to have that one. This is actually a rough card. Pie Trainer, Hall of Famer. He died I think in the 40s. But this is the nicest known example according to the PSA set registry. There's a handful of these signed. They're beaters. This was one from the Leahy collection. You can see the red line there, and he trimmed off the big league chew on the bottom, so it's trimmed. And I think there's some tape residue on here, but it's still a beautiful card. The signature's there. It's clean. They're expensive. This card was expensive. And so I think when I started, I remember the first time that I spent $1,000 on one card. And I remember thinking, what am I doing? This is silly, And now, I mean, whatever, it's 3, 4, 5, 6 grand for a card. And I'm at the point now where I have 216. People say, are you going to try to get them all? Well, there's 4 Babe Ruths. I'm probably not going to try to get any of the Babe Ruths anytime soon. There's 2 Lou Gehrig's. Obviously, I'm probably not going to get those. There's 4 that haven't turned up. There is a guy, I'm drawing blank on his name, but he was a dealer in the 70s in Chicago. and he's still alive. He's in his 80s. He had a complete signed 33 Goudey set, according to him and other people. I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's talking about, because I'm sure he had an awesome collection. I can't fathom that. I can't fathom, like, I have the internet, I have, all kinds of message boards and stuff that I'm active on. And, we've been looking for 20 plus years for these 4 cards, and they haven't turned up. Now, does that mean that this guy is misremembering this? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And that's why I keep doing this. Jess Petty is one that there were no known examples floating out there. Jess Petty, Uncle Jimmy had one. And so Jess Petty, and I missed it. It slipped through my fingers. I got outbid on the last second. It was in the memory lane auction. So if you won the Jess Petty signed card from memory lane, reach out to me, please. I mean, I really covet that card. But the collector, and I hate that I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but the cool thing about the guy that said he had the whole complete set, he had the Lajoie. He had the Lajoie card signed. There's one known signed Lajoie. I posted it on my Instagram. It's @signed 1933 Goudey. It's interesting because I know the story of how it went from Chicago to where it's at now. It's in the Baseball Hall of Fame's permanent collection. So it went from him in the 70s. He sold it to Maestro. Maestro sold it to Barry Halper. Halper auctioned it at the Sotheby's auction, and then that was like 99, and then 2000 it popped up in REA auction, and then Halper bought it back and gave it to the Hall of Fame. So it's in the Hall of Fame's collection. What I secretly want to do, Hall of Fame, is in 1933 I want to display my collection. Hopefully by then I'll have almost all of them. I know the collectors that have the Babe Ruths and Lou Gehrig's. And so I think it would be really cool to bring the whole set together in 2033 and let everybody see it and appreciate it for what it is. So that's my
that'd be so cool.
That's my long-term goal. So the Lajoie card, and it's funny because you do these talks and clips get taken out of context. And Keith Olbermann kind of attacked one of my sound bites. And I thought that was funny for a couple of different reasons. But, he's a big baseball historian. Keith, if you see this, I respect you. I know you've got a great collection, and I appreciate that. I do understand the history of the T206 cards. I've got a lot of them myself. So the clip that he saw, I said the Lajoie was the first chase card in the hobby. And Keith took some exception to that. But I want to be clear. I do believe it's the first bubblegum chase card in the hobby. And the cool thing about it was Goudey Gum was a gum company, and they were looking to market this product and sell more gum, right? So what did they do? They created an ad campaign to buy one pack of, there's one card in each pack with a stick of gum. Buy your card, and it's one of a 240 card set. So they left out card number 106. So all these kids all summer long were buying multiple packs, and there was no 106. So parents got fed up. And the story that I've heard is there was an attorney who got mad. He contacted somebody in the U.S. government. U.S. government sent a demand letter to Goudey saying, you have to print a card. This is deceptive. And so I have one of the letters that Goudey mailed out to individuals that complained. And they did that in 1934. So that's why the Lajoie, actually, it was printed with the 34 card. So it looks more like a 1934 Goudey card. So I said in this clip that got tweeted out in the universe, and Keith Olbermann saw in my clip, that I said was, this is the first chase card in baseball history. And he says, well, what about the T206 cards? You know, yeah, the T206 cards, they weren't numbered. There was a checklist. They
Plus all the different backs too.
all the backs, and they printed those for multiple years. So Keith, I get your story, and I'm not diminishing the T206. I love it. I've got a bunch of them myself. I have a bunch of signed T206 cards too. I'm actually going to consign them and auction them off to help fund some of my other stuff. But anyway, so Keith, if you see this, reach out to me. I'd love to see your collection. I'd love to bring these to you, and so you can see this collection someday. The Frank Frisch, the Fordham Flash, probably Frisk, I missed his name. Frank Frisch, it's tough to say. The Fordham Flash, Cardinals player, Hall of Famer. Died early on. This is a really tough card. I was able to acquire it like pretty recently, like not too long ago. Popped up on eBay of all places. So I was able to snag that one up. Heine Manusch has 3 cards in the set. This is the nicest known example of this card. Again, registration on this card is phenomenal. The color, the autograph, it's just beautiful. The other 2 cards are just as nice. He's got a green card. It's like a sea green background. And then I forget what the other one's like, but I have all 3 of them. Actually, funny story. I guess Heine was short for Hank. So there's 8 different Heines in the 33 Goudey set. And so I have all the Heine's sand. So I have the Heine sand is one of them, but I have the Heine signed subset. It's difficult to say after a long day, but anyway, you mentioned Lefty Grove is your favorite card. Here's my signed Lefty Grove. It's a beater. It's one that I have a short list of ones that I want to upgrade, and this one's that one. But again, you know, he's one of the greatest, I think, to ever throw the ball, man. He's a phenomenal player. So there's
so underappreciated in the hobby too. So underappreciated.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of underappreciated, I think Lefty O'Doul will get in the Hall of Fame. I stand by that. Another thing that I misspoke on one of my conversations I was having, and again, I hope people realize this. I'm just a regular guy. I'm just a regular collector, you know. I'm just having a conversation. So, you know, people that get like overly sensitive and like I don't want to say they attack me, but it's like Adolfo Luque, I said was the first Latin American player in MLB. He wasn't. He was the first Latin American pitcher. And so I know that. I'm talking to my friends and you know, I just, hey, this is the first Latin American player. I know he's not the first Latin American player. First Latin American pitcher. The guy, regardless, should be in the Hall of Fame. This is the nicest known Adolfo Luque signed 33 Goudey that's on the planet. It's from the Uncle Jimmy collection. This guy died in 1957. Do me a favor, Google him. I mean, this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. He was the first Latin American pitcher. He won a World Series game in 1919 with the Reds. He won his second World Series in 1993. So, I mean, longevity is insane. He managed, he coached in Mexico and in Cuba during the offseason. He's in the Cuban Hall, he's in the Reds Hall of Fame, he's in the Mexican Baseball Hall of Fame. The fact that he is missing from Canton is just absolutely ridiculous. And so this is the nicest known first Latin American pitcher in MLB. So I wanted to show you that one.
I didn't know about that one. And like everyone makes mistakes. I mean, I've made so many mistakes in card show videos or just saying the wrong year. Like I know the video is not out yet, but I had Strongsville this weekend, and on the Lefty Grove hand cut card that I got, I accidentally called it a 28 instead of a 27. So like it happens if you're in heat in the moment, man. Like mistakes happen. People are like overly critical over like one or two words that are incorrect. Like it happens.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. Again, like I'm not putting myself out there to be the expert on the 33 Goudeys. Do I know more about the 33 Goudey set than 99% of the population? Sure, it's a niche thing that I do. And again, I don't like seeing people attacking folks over just silly. It's that frustrates me in social media, and that's partly why I was kind of late in the game of joining it. And again, Keith, again, I'll hopefully get to meet him one day. He's got a phenomenal connection. I've followed him for years. I've been a Sabre member for years. I've got all of the national pastimes. You can't see my bookshelf down here, but I've got all of the Sabre publications on the bottom shelf. And I was just kind of taken back when Overman actually commented on Twitter about something I said. Probably shouldn't have brought that up, but whatever. Two other cards that I just pulled out. You mentioned Dizzy Dean. I'm an Arkansan. I have the nicest known Dizzy Dean. The color, the registration, the ink on this card is amazing. Dizzy Dean, one of the greatest to ever do it. And the cool thing about this card to me is this card. Lon Warneke, the lesser known Arkansan, Dizzy Dean and Lon Warneke were two of the best pitchers in the 30s. They were born like 6 months apart, 18 miles down the road here in Arkansas, small town, Arkansas, small town. I actually went to Lon Warneke's grave over the summer just to kind of visit and pay my respects. But Lon Warneke, 5-time All-Star, he won like 197 games, something like that. But his career afterwards, his playing career was phenomenal. I mean, he was just amazing. So if you don't know Lon Warneke, Google him. Again, 5-time All-Star. He was a heck of a batter. He had some crazy batting average, but he was an All-Star in 33. And he hit, I think, the first triple in All-Star history and had the first RBI in All-Star history. So pitcher gets up to bat. You look at the 33 All-Star game, you're talking about stacked. I mean, these are the legends of all legends. This guy's the starting pitcher. He goes up to bat, hits a triple, and brings in the first run. So, and he ended up, he died in the 70s, but he came back. After his career was over, he was an umpire. And he actually was really, really well respected, was an umpire. He umpired, I think, World Series, an All-Star game. And so he was like one of the only people, I could be wrong on this, but like, I think he's one of the only people to play in an All-Star game and a World Series and both umpire them. The longevity of his career is insane. He was the umpire in Willie Mays' The Catch game. He was the umpire for that. And then he came back to Arkansas and ran for a local county judge position and was the county judge in Hot Springs and in that town. But this is PSA, look at that, 10 auto, PSA 10 auto. You're getting 33 Goudeys with PSA 10 auto. So that's insane. It's insane. So that's all I brought out.
I think that was amazing, man, because like I learned quite a bit, and I know a lot of people watching this are going to learn as well on that side of things.
Well, yeah, I'm excited. I'm passionate about it, and I, if you follow me on Instagram, I try to make it entertaining. So if you don't follow me, do give me a shout. Hopefully, I keep saying the book's coming out in August. My wife laughs every time I say that. She's like, it's going to be September or October. But just one more thing, we've got a couple minutes. The really funny thing for me is I'm super private, really low key, and so I ended up going. I set up at my first card show a couple weeks ago, and I don't know very many local collectors at all, and so I know it's a tight-knit community. I just know that. I mean, I've got hobbies, other things that I do. And so like the running community here, I mean, I'm involved in the running community. So we all know each other. So I knew me showing up at this card show, people were going to be like, who is this dude? And so I did it. And I kind of wanted to just show my cards. So it was like the ultimate flex for me. I got a table and I was like, none of this is for sale. This is just for you all to see. Yeah, but it was so much fun. I had a blast and ended up selling a bunch of stuff too. I brought some of my extras and really had a good time. And so if you visited me at the first card show, I appreciate you. I had a lot of fun doing that. And it was really good for me for like practice for the book, because it was funny for me, the same questions that people ask. It was like, I felt like for 2 days straight, I was answering the same question over and over again. And so that's going to help me with my talking points on the book.
What card show is it? Because I'm going to Arkansas in 2 weeks.
You're coming to Arkansas in 2 weeks? Where
Yeah.
are you going?
I think it's a Springdale show.
Your Springdale. Springdale's about 3 hours from me. I'm in Little Rock. It was in Benton, Arkansas, which is kind of a suburb of Little Rock. It's about 25 miles southwest of here. So you're gonna be in Springdale. Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I might come up. I'm gonna actually be in Northwest Arkansas on Monday of next week. But yeah, we'll talk about the show. Maybe I can get up there. But yeah, that was fun. It was just fun going to the show. Ended up, how Ken Golden has had the 86 Fleer basketball. Look at my 87 Tops box there. Eat your heart out there. Ken Golden, I got an 87 Tops baseball box, and that right there is like a 92 Stadium Club and then 1990 Hobby. I didn't mean to do that. I bought those at the card show as kind of, not as a joke, but I've got a 5-year-old, so I wanted her to open some cards, and I opened probably 1 million of those packs. So I wanted, after sitting there for 2 days, you're bored. I'm like, this guy had an 87 Tops box and it was like nothing. So sure, I'll buy that. And so I'm rewarding my kids by, if they're good, I'll let them open some of the junk wax. And it's been really cool. We pulled some funny cards for us. So teaching them young.
Hey, that's a great way to get into the hobby. Hey, thanks again for doing this. And guys, make sure to give him a follow at signed 1933 Goudey on Instagram. If you watch this whole episode, if you have an Instagram account, you have to give him a follow.